Good afternoon. Before I officially call our case, I just want to check in with my court reporter to make sure you can hear me and we're ready. Tracy, are you ready to go?
I can hear you and I'm ready.
Great, thank you. Now calling proceeding number 24M-0274R. This proceeding concerns the development of template construction and maintenance agreements and preliminary engineering agreements for use in public crossing projects over which the Commission has jurisdiction as required by Rule 7214 of the Commission's rules regulating railroads, rail fixed guideways, transportation by rail, and rail crossings found at 4 Code of Colorado Regulations 723-7. This hearing was scheduled by decision number R25-0670-I, which was issued on September 17th, 2025. It is February 24th, 2026 at 2:30 p.m. My name is Melody Mirbaba, and I am the administrative law judge who is assigned to this matter. Consistent with Commission practice, we are recording and live webcasting the video and audio of this hearing. Webcast will continue during any breaks that we may take. We also have a court reporter taking down everything that is being said. To make sure that we have a clear record, I'm going to ask everyone to keep your microphones muted and until it's your turn to speak. I want to start by finding out who we have here with us today, but I'm only interested in hearing from those of you who plan to speak and participate in today's hearing. So for those of you who plan to speak or otherwise participate, please use the raise a hand feature on Zoom. Let me know who I need to call on. I also want to ask that if there's more than one person who is here on behalf of a single entity, that to save time, the first person who is called on, please introduce anybody else who's with your organization. All right, so let's get started. I am going to call on the first person who has used the raise the hand feature. That's Brandon Dittman. Please go ahead and turn your camera on and unmute yourself.
Thank you so much, Your Honor. Brandon Dittman of Wilson, Williams, Fellman, Dittman, representing the Colorado Communications and Utility Alliance, the cities of Aurora and Arvada, and Yuma County.
What about Fort Collins? I have a note that you're also representing.
I'm representing Fort Collins. They also have their separate counsel as well, so you let them introduce themselves, but they also have retained me on this proceeding.
Correct, yes. Okay, thank you. I am waiting on others to use the raise the hand feature to let me know that you're ready to speak. I'm quite confident that more than one of you is going to be participating in this hearing. Okay, great. I'm going to call on the person identified on the screen as Caitlin Werner. Go ahead and unmute yourself and turn on your camera, please.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Caitlin Werner here on behalf of BNSF.
Thank you. Now I want to call on the person identified on the screen as Colby Rinker.
Good morning, or good afternoon, Your Honor. Colby Rinker for Union Pacific Railroad. Typically, I'm not the person who would be speaking for UP, but I don't see the other folks on here, so I will take the role to represent Union Pacific until Josephine Jordan or Sean Lanka joins the call.
Okay, great, thank you. I'm going to give it another minute. I think some people are still joining us. For anybody who has, hold on, I've got two people in the meeting room. All right, so for anybody who has just joined us a little bit late, I am trying to hear from everybody who is planning to participate in the hearing. I just need to get your names for the record, and if there's more than one person representing same entity, I just need one person to introduce everybody who is here on behalf of the same entity. So please use the raise a hand feature so that you can identify yourself if you plan to speak during this hearing. I'll just note that Mr. Colby Rinker introduced himself on behalf of Union Pacific, but also noted he was waiting on Miss Jordan and Sean Monka to join us. So I think you are both with us, or I think I saw Josephine Jordan's name.
Yep.
Hi there. Please go ahead and introduce yourself and state who you're appearing on behalf of.
Yes, my name is Josephine Jordan, and I am appearing on behalf of Union Pacific Railroad.
All right, wonderful. Thank you. Is there anybody else that needs to enter an appearance? Again, I'm just looking for those of you who are going to be participating and speaking up during this hearing. Use the raise the hand feature to let me know that you need to enter your appearance. Okay. Well, if you have not spoken up yet and you decide you want to participate as this hearing proceeds, you can use the raise the hand feature and introduce yourself at that time. Let's go ahead and move forward with the hearing. So let's see. Purpose of this hearing, just like the others that we've held, is to move forward and having template agreements prepared by the parties that can then be approved by the commission for use in accordance with Rule 7214. I did set a couple of deadlines this last time around. It looks like we do have a couple of template agreements. Union Pacific's template agreements that can be used for Union Pacific crossing projects for at grade and grade separated crossings, I believe, were filed on January 30th. I plan to review those and issue a decision. Most likely what I'll do is bifurcate the proceeding so that I can have a recommended decision on that go out the door so it can become final and those agreements can go into effect. Second, I see that I'm going to say, I think it was in Union Pacific's filing, it was a notice that was filed on January 30th. It appears that everyone agrees that template preliminary engineering agreements can be used for essentially all crossing projects over which the commission has jurisdiction. I understand from that the participants are already working on those templates, both for BNSF and Union Pacific projects. I would just like to hear from everybody. First of all, please correct me if I have misread or misunderstood the participants' position in terms of the use of preliminary engineering agreements across all kinds of crossing projects. And then second, if I misunderstood you, I need you to correct me on that. And then second, I want to know how much time everybody needs to get those templates prepared and filed. Go ahead and use the raise the hand feature to indicate that you would like to speak. Ms. Jordan.
Good afternoon, Judge. So I might need to have that clarification again in terms of what you're wanting us to be able to respond to. I do know, and I believe that we did send out the PE templates to the stakeholders. And I believe that we're going to have subsequent review sessions set up for those. I would imagine that our timeline for probably, getting those completed would be towards the end of March, by April 1st.
Great. And I'm not sure if you had a question for me embedded in that, but I'll go ahead and clarify. In the filing that Union Pacific made on January 30th, I remember I saw some language that indicated that you all conferred and agreed that preliminary engineering agreements, a template preliminary engineering agreement, could be used for any type of crossing project over which the commission has jurisdiction. So that is different than construction and maintenance agreements, for which we have different kinds depending on the kind of project. So am I understanding that correctly?
Correct. That should be the case. But again, we have sent those out to the stakeholders, and then we'll be able to confirm that based upon, basically the feedback that we get. But that is the intent, that we would have that one PE agreement that we would be able to have applicable to any type of an agreement. But it will depend upon the type of feedback and where we reach consensus at in those stakeholder meetings.
Okay. All right. So it sounds like as we sit here today, everyone agrees, but
Mhm.
There's a chance that something might come out in the course of your discussions and negotiations to lead some of you or all of you to a different conclusion in terms of being able to use preliminary engineering agreements for any kind of project. Is that
Right.
fair?
That's
Okay.
fair. Thank you.
Okay. All right. And then what I also heard is that Union Pacific anticipates being able to have a template preliminary engineering agreement done by April 1st. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you. So let me call on Mr. Dittman next.
Thank you, Your Honor. First, I wanted to confirm that we have received and have already been working on the preliminary engineering templates. So far, it has appeared that those are much simpler agreements. We've already kind of done some redlining of those, and I think we can, maybe even resolve at least as the UP agreement at our next stakeholder meeting, which I think is this Friday. Because again, those were very short agreements. We're pretty much already in agreement on the text. So I would, agree with Ms. Jordan that I think we could certainly file those by the end of this month.
I believe she said April 1st.
April 1st.
Okay, great. Let me call on Ms. Warner.
Thank you, Your Honor. Just want to let you know, we too have, on behalf of BNSF, have provided our template PE agreements. We have discussed at a stakeholder meeting, and I believe are waiting on some more feedback, I think on both sides. So also, yeah, much shorter things, believe we can get it done. Again, just depends on, everyone providing their feedback in a timely manner so that we can get through this.
Is April 1st a reasonable timeline for BNSF as well?
I would like to think so, yes.
Okay. So what I'm going to do is set an April 1st deadline for those to get filed, both ones that would be used for BNSF projects and for those that could be used for Union Pacific projects. Next item on my list is to talk about some of the issues raised in BNSF's filings that were made on February 20th. There was a notice that was filed. First of all, I understand that there was a motion to extend the deadline to file the at-grade construction and maintenance template agreement. I didn't rule on that simply because I wanted to see how things panned out, and frankly, it didn't make much of a difference if I did. You have it done, you have it done. If you don't, you don't. And I was going to give you more time either way. But we are going to move these things forward. And in looking at the issues that were raised in the notice that BNSF filed on February 20th, it does appear that BNSF has reached an impasse on several, I would say, relatively significant items. And frankly, those are some of the items that I think were brought up in the rulemaking. There were some of the reasons why we're trying to do template agreements so that we can resolve these kinds of arguments and disputes, and therefore things can move forward in a more timely manner moving forward. Having reviewed pretty briefly what was laid out, I think that the best course of action is to allow BNSF and any other participant who wishes to file to do simultaneous briefing. My focus and the focus, I think, for the rulemaking and the rule is that the agreements can't violate Colorado law. That's really what I'm looking at. And from what I have looked at in the notice that BNSF filed, I think there is a disagreement about whether certain items would or would not violate Colorado law. So what I'd like is to set some, I'm going to set two deadlines. I'm going to send one that is everybody files their initial briefing all those legal issues. And then I'm going to allow everybody to do a response brief as well. The deadline, I'm going to give you all 30 days. I think these are really important issues, and I want everybody to make sure they've got the time to put together your legal arguments. I want to see citations for everything that you're arguing. And that's one of the reasons why I want a brief, because I did look at what was in the notice, and there's very little law cited in there. So the first deadline for the simultaneous briefing is going to be March 26th. Let me just triple check that date on my calendar. Okay. And then the response will be 14 days later on April 9th. Mr. Dittman?
Yeah, thank you, Your Honor. So I hate to do this, but I will be on a cruise that week. And so it's the first vacation I've had in 2 years, to be honest.
Fair enough.
And so if you give me an additional week, I'd really appreciate that. So I wouldn't have to be trying to figure out how to file that during the cruise.
Which deadline are you referring to? The first one or the second one?
The initial one, the 26th.
Okay, fair enough. I'm gonna say the initial brief will be due April 3rd. And the response brief, April 17th. But I'm making note of that myself, and I will repeat that for everybody else. The initial brief will be due April 3rd, and the response brief due April 17th. Okay, so the next thing I wanted to talk about was BNSF grade separated agreement. So I am gonna say it's probably safe to assume we're gonna have the same disputes for that agreement as we do for the at-grade construction and maintenance template. But I really do want that to move forward on a parallel track. Let's set aside those issues. Setting those issues aside, how long do you think you all need to get that template in order and filed?
And Brandon or Amos, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's just those last issues. I think we have to finish incorporating through this more recently, we're able for the at grade. But I think once we get through there, it will be just those remaining same issues. I don't recall anything different.
Okay, so Mr. Dittman?
Well, I was only gonna say that I agree with Ms. Warner that really it's the same issues. I think it's really only two because the maintenance issue is not the same for the grade separate process.
All right, well, with that in mind, what I'd like to see is the template from BNSF or BNSF grade separated crossings to get filed. Understanding that there are still going to be those disputes, if you could just file the notice when you do that, indicating these are the items that we're not addressing. And I'm just going to look at the calendar really quick and set a deadline for that.
And does it work how I did it, Your Honor, with highlighting it in blue to kind of set those pieces out?
Yeah, I think so, but let me just take another quick look at it.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's very helpful. One thing I did want to note was that there are still a couple of comments that were remaining in the version.
Oh,
Was that intentional?
that was not, I thought I had caught them all.
On page 2. No, there might be more, but that was.
Oh, yeah, and we have resolved those. There's a question of whether the defined terms, and Brandon, you can speak better to this on if we're moving forward on that or if that's still an issue.
Yeah, so we had raised an issue in some of our initial communications that we didn't think that some of the defined terms were uniformly capitalized throughout. In my understanding from Ms. Warner that has been corrected, and so that is no longer an issue for me. Trusting that has been corrected.
Okay, so I think there was another comment on page 31. What I'm going to do, just so that we don't,
May I refile it?
yeah, let's just have one version
Okay.
filed as of now and continue to highlight anything in blue that is still disputed. And include that in your notice, just so that I have it in the record that that's what that means. I'll set a deadline for that, and it'll be the same. I'll make the deadline to file the grade separated the same as this updated version of the at grade. I'm thinking about 2 weeks should be plenty of time. It's whatever kinks you've got guys have left. So let me just look at March 10th. Okay, so March 10th, you'll file BNSF's grade separated agreement and an updated at grade separated agreement. Sorry, if I said at grade separated, that was obviously a mistake. I meant at grade. Okay, let me just check my list here. All right, so the next thing is I want to set a couple more hearings. I'm going to let you guys know what the dates are that I've identified and ask that anybody who has an issue with these dates to use your raise a hand feature and let me know. I'm looking at May 19th and August 11th. Okay, I'll just note for the record that nobody has used the raised hand feature or otherwise indicated any objection to those two hearing dates. So we're going to have a hearing on May 19th and then another one on August 11th. Let me just double check the times. I think those days are wide open. Yep. All right, let's set those will both be at the same time as today's hearing at 2:30. I'm also going to set those up so everybody has to register, and just like we've been doing for the last several hearings. The instructions will be in the decision. They won't be any different than the last time. So that covers the items that I had. I will real quick go just run through all the deadlines that we've established so that we're all on the same page. Okay, so Union Pacific and BNSF are going to file a template preliminary engineering agreement by April 1st. Interested participants will file simultaneous briefs on April 3rd, 2026, addressing the legal issues that were outlined at a high level in BNSF's notice filed February 20th. Response briefs will be due on April 17th. BNSF's grade separated agreement and an updated at grade agreement for construction and maintenance templates will be due on March 10th. And we've got 2 more hearing dates, May 19th and August 11th, both at 2:30. If I got any of that wrong, please use the raise hand feature and let me know. I also want to encourage anybody who thinks there's anything else we need to address, use the raise the hand feature so I can call on you. And I'm just going to pause for a minute to give everybody a moment. All right, I will note for the record that nobody has indicated that they want to speak, and therefore I take that to mean there are no other issues that we need to address, and that everything I have repeated in terms of the deadline is correct and accurate according to everybody else's notes. So with that, I want to thank you all for your efforts, your participation. Again, I know that this has been a long process, but we are really starting to see some progress. And although we do have yet at least a couple more big hurdles to overcome, I think we're going to get there, and I'm going to do my best to get it done as quickly as I possibly can. All right, thank you all. I will see you again next time.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.